Welcome back to another GP Fans testing special. The final day of testing in Bahrain is in the books, and I'm delighted to say joining myself, Ollie Wilson, is the man who's been keeping an eye over everything going on in the desert in the build-up to the start of the new Formula One season. Mr. Sam Hall. Relief, Sam, at the final day is over and done with?
It's not quite over and done with for us. I mean, we've still got a lot of stuff that we've got to get done. A lot of content for the website, obviously, but yeah, it's a full-on 3 days, as I'm sure Ian will attest as well. For editor-in-chief Ian Parks, that is, will attest from Spain. I'll give him his full title.
You guys are going to be swapping notes, I imagine, over the differences between watching in Bahrain and watching in Spain. I think the heat is probably going to be in your favour for this one. But things in terms of Red Bull have been heating up on track as well. A new look car for the final day and some pretty stellar times on the timing sheet too.
Yeah, when they rolled out of the garage, it was about an hour into the session, or almost an hour, that Sergio Perez finally rolled out of the garage this morning. And rumours had been building about they'd got these new side pods. Were they going to be similar to Mercedes? As it happened, they weren't that similar to Mercedes. They were just sculpted. They were, in a way, they were a little bit more like the Ferrari. Not quite the baby baths that you've got in the middle of the Ferrari side pods, but they were more akin to that with the sculptures that they had. And it either those really worked well, or Max Verstappen just decided, I'm going to go for this a little bit, because towards the end of the session, I was slightly concerned, because when I went out when I went trackside, I'd said to Ian that I thought there were going to be 1 minute 31s. I thought someone was going to get below the 1:32 barrier. And he got very close to not happening, but then Max went and put in a pair of laps. His fastest was 1:37.7, and he could have gone even faster, because that wasn't even a lap that had his best middle sector in. If he had done all of his best sectors on one lap, which were the best of anyone, would have been a 1 minute 31.683. I've got it written down beside me, so I have to keep checking these. I'm not just looking away from Ollie for the fun of it, but no, it's. Red Bull threw down the gauntlet. Normally normally it's Sauber. They have this habit of going out there and putting in a lap, going, look how good we are, and then you get sponsors on board, and it's that sort of opportunity. But this time it was Red Bull who threw down the gauntlet, and we'll find out in 1 week if that's a genuine gauntlet or whether Mercedes is holding something back. So they've not shown a lot today.
Now, was this, do you think, from Red Bull? There's been a lot of discussion about the side pods with Mercedes. There's been discussion about how good Ferrari look at this moment in time as well. And there was a lot of discussion about McLaren, particularly after Barcelona. It's been a little more eventful, of course, for them this week, and we'll touch on that in a moment. But was this Red Bull kind of saying, we're still here, we've got the reigning World Drivers' Champion right now, and this is our marker that we're putting down?
I think it was, really, because yesterday both Perez and Max, they had come out and they'd said, we're not even trying. So we're doing well and we're not even trying. We're not pushing this car at all. And I mean, that, as a general comment, I mean, anyone can come out and say that if they really wanted to. I mean, Haas yesterday, top of the pile, and today Kevin Magnussen was the slowest. Although they did have some problems today. So that hill that I'm going to die on, I mean,
it's just got a bit bigger.
It's crumbled a bit, but yeah, and Lewis was the second slowest driver, only to Magnussen, who was 4.4 seconds, almost 4.5 seconds off the pace. And even though George was fourth, he was still over a second behind Red Bull. Obviously, we don't know fuel loads. We don't know what engine modes the teams are running. If Mercedes were genuinely the fourth or fifth fastest car when it came to the opening race of the season, I think a lot of people would be surprised. I still think, especially Lewis's time, just wipe that off. It's not relevant. It's so unrepresentative. It's unbelievable. During the day, the temperatures were as high as I've seen them, and you're not going to be racing in those temperatures, as we said yesterday. This evening, I almost had to go back out the car to get my jumper because it was so cold. The temperatures were really cool. It's the coolest I've felt it here, and it was pretty much what you're going to have this time next week. So Max set his time in qualifying conditions on the soft tyres, Was it low fuel? The Mercedes will be hoping it was. Put it that way, and so will everyone else.
But yeah, let's talk quickly about McLaren. Danny Ricciardo, we had a chat yesterday, Sam, and the discussion was he's testing for COVID and isn't coming up as positive, or we didn't have a positive at that point. And then, as soon as we'd finished our chat, McLaren decided to let us all know that Danny Ricciardo has COVID. Is his seat for next Sunday's Grand Prix, or at least qualifying or practice on Friday, is that in jeopardy at the moment, do you think? Are we likely not to see Danny Ricciardo next weekend?
I think we will see Daniel. It's one of those things we've seen so many drivers have had COVID over the last couple of years. It's just an unfortunate fact of life at the moment that we live with it. Um, McLaren, I was speaking to Andreas Seidel. He's optimistic. That was his word. He's optimistic that Daniel will be in the car. Obviously, we all want to see him in the car because you don't want to start the season without your main driver, or one of your two main drivers. But they have got other options. They've got a deal in place with the Mercedes reserve drivers. So they've got Stoffel Van Dorn and Nick de Vries that they could pull in from Formula E. They've also got Paul di Resta, who's on standby. They've just signed today Colton Herta as a McLaren F1 development driver. And they've also been offered Oscar Piastri from Alpine. So it's they've got some options. They've got some very, very good options there. And I still expect Daniel to be in that car, but they're not going to be lacking for talent behind the wheel.
And everybody, I think there are a lot of people that are interested to see what Piastri could do at this Formula One level as well. We'll see what happens as the week goes on. Sam Hall and Ian Parks will be talking about all of the winter action that we've seen here at GP Fans, and a special podcast coming out next week, so stay tuned for that. Subscribe here on the YouTube channel as well to stay up to date with all of our content, and you can find Sam's musings on all of the Formula One season as we go on gpfans.com and on Twitter at gpfansglobal as well. But Sam, thank you so much for joining us in Bahrain, man. I think you've got a flight to catch pretty soon, so we'll love you and leave you, mate.
Thank you. See you later.